shortly. So there's the body cam footage, and I'm going to add this is the arrest report by the Highway Patrol, and I know it's hard for you guys to see. I've tried to find a better way to share this, and I just can't seem to get it, but I do have it here, so bear with me. I will read it to you. Of course, this is, let me get my version up here so that I can see it on my desktop. This is the arrest report and summons written by the Highway Patrol. It says to defendant, summons, you are summoned in order to appear. It has all the information, you know, about the personal information of the mayor and his vehicle on that sheet. There, of course, you know, is the actual cover sheet of the entire thing. And if I can find it, here we go. Now, this is what the Highway Patrol actually wrote to the judge. So this is the important part and the part that I wanted to read through. So I will read. Hopefully you guys can see it on your screen. If you can't, if you're on a phone, I'm sorry. It's the best I can do for now. But I'm going to read it to you here. It says, Your Honor, on August 20th, 2022, at approximately 0102 hours, that's 1:02 a.m., I was on patrol traveling westbound on 4th Street when I observed a vehicle traveling southbound on Pleasant Street above the posted speed limit through the intersection of Pleasant Street and 4th Street. The intersection is a four-way intersection, and I observed the vehicle traveling at a speed that would be impossible to obtain if the vehicle would have completely stopped at the stop sign, indicating the vehicle had failed to stop at the intersection. I sped up and observed the vehicle pull out of the lane of travel and into the parking portion of the roadway. However, the vehicle did not park. The vehicle then swerved left and proceeded to make a right-hand turn onto 3rd without using its turn signal. So right here, he's got him not signaling, running a stop sign, speeding, and swerving. Just want to make that evident. He goes on to say, I also observed the vehicle's left tail light was damaged and was emitting a white light to the rear. The vehicle then pulled out of the lane of traffic, or out of the lane of travel, I apologize, parked, and I initiated a traffic stop by activating my overhead lights. At this time, all occupants had exited the vehicle but were still at the vehicle, and I observed the driver exit from the driver's seat and was able to identify the driver. The front seat passenger walked away from the traffic stop, and I asked the rear passenger to remain in the vehicle, and he complied. I made contact with the driver, and he stated, "You pulling me over?" then sat back down in the driver's seat. I asked the driver for his driver's license, proof of insurance, and registration. He sorted through some items he was holding and provided me with his driver's license, and he was identified as Samuel Cramblit II. He attempted to retrieve the other requested items but was unable to produce them. And as he was attempting to locate the items, I noticed his movements were slow and lethargic, and he was having difficulty sorting through the paperwork in the glove box as well as the center console. I asked him where he was going, and he pointed to the Auger Inn, which again is that bar right there across the street, and stated, "We are just going here. I was bringing them here," referring to the passengers in the vehicle. I explained the reasons for the traffic stop and noticed a strong odor of an alcoholic beverage coming from that vehicle. While speaking with Mr. Cramblit II, I noticed his speech was thick and slurred and his eyes were bloodshot and glassy. I asked him how much he had had to drink. He stated, "I had a couple earlier. I was just driving them." I asked Mr. Cramblit to exit the vehicle and stand in front of my patrol car. While at my patrol car, Mr. Cramblit stated, "This is off the record. I'm the mayor here in Ironton. I'm just wondering what you guys are doing in town." While he was speaking, I noticed a strong odor of an alcoholic beverage coming from his breath. He consented to standard field sobriety tests. At this time, the rear seat passenger asked if he could leave the traffic stop, and I stated he could. I administered the horizontal gaze nystagmus test and observed a nystagmus in each of the following clues: lack of smooth pursuit, distinct and sustained nystagmus at the maximum deviation, and had a 35-degree angle of onset. I began to give the instructions for the walk and turn test, and Mr. Cramblit requested that we move the area and conduct the field sobriety tests at another location due to a large crowd that had gathered at the Auger Inn. The crowd, let me flip this for you. I know you guys, it gets to the end there, so I have to flip the page for y'all and then go back to mine. Give me just a second. Sorry about that. Fun. As I learn how to tech here. Said the crowd was yelling and screaming, and a patron had walked into the traffic stop and stated she wanted to be arrested and taken to jail rather than Mr. Cramblit. I assisted the patron back across the roadway, and the traffic stop was moved to an empty nearby parking lot, and the standard field sobriety tests were resumed. He performed the walk and turn test, and I observed 7 standardized clues of impairment. I'm going to read that again. He said, I observed 7 clues of impairment. He moved his feet while listening to the instructions and started the test 2 times prior to being instructed to do so, raised his arms greater than 6 inches for balance, failed to touch heel to toe 3 times, stepped off the line 1 time, and he made an incorrect turn. As he was performing the test, I noticed that he stopped walking after each step to maintain his balance. He performed the 1-leg stand test, and I observed 3 standardized clues of impairment. He swayed side to side both ways, raised his arms greater than 6 inches for balance, and he put his foot down on count 11. Prior to starting the test, I asked if he had any questions and if he understood the instructions, and he stated he did. I instructed him to begin, and he stated which foot. A second demonstration was given as well with the instructions prior to starting the test. As he performed the test, I noticed he counted slowly to 1012 in approximately 30 seconds. At this time, Sergeant McFan arrived on scene. Mr. Cramblit was offered a portable breath test, and he hesitated and began speaking out loud that he knew how he weighed, how much alcohol he had consumed, and what he had eaten throughout the day. After a short while, he refused the portable breath test, indicating to me that he believed he would show a blood alcohol of the per se level. I placed Mr. Cramblit under arrest for operating a vehicle under the influence. I handcuffed him, advised him of his Miranda rights, searched him, and secured him in the back of my patrol car. He was read and shown the BMV 2255 on scene. He was offered a breath test using the Intoxilizer 8000, and he refused. He was advised of his ALS suspension and mandatory court appearance in the Ironton Municipal Court. He was advised and served with a copy of his charges, then released from the scene with a valid and sober driver. Respectfully, Trooper Martin, U1364. I assume that is probably his badge number. So we have an Ohio State Highway Patrol who sees a car basically run a stop sign, doesn't use any turn signals, swerving, obviously can't drive right. He pulls them over, ends up arresting him for DUI. Is there any doubt out there at all, to anyone out there, is there any doubt that this man was under the influence of alcohol or something? My guess is alcohol. He sounds like he's drunk. He looks like he's drunk. The trooper says he was and could smell alcohol. I'm just wondering if there's anybody out there who has any doubt at all as to whether or not this man may or may not have been drunk. In my opinion, he absolutely, and I think in yours too, I think anybody that has half a brain will see that this man was definitely under the influence of something. What do you think, Eugene?
Yes, sir. He was very drunk. If 2 beers gets him like that, hell, holy shit.
It's pretty bad, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I want to show you guys the, let me get it up here on the screen. I have the court transcripts. As you see, this is from the Ironton Municipal Court. The Honorable Jerome Cantazzaro is the judge. I will say the supposedly Honorable Jerome Cantazzaro, because I will never attest to another man's honor, and just because they think that's their title doesn't mean shit to me. I usually don't see one man any more honorable than the other. I hate that term, but that's what's printed on the paper. Under appearances, we have Jeremy. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce that. I'm gonna go with Dodgian. It's Dodgion. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce that because I've never seen that name before. That was the attorney for the mayor, and the special prosecuting attorney is John Hass. So we brought in a judge, Jerome Cantazzaro, and a prosecuting attorney, John Hass, both from Scioto County. right? Because, I mean, they had to bring in somebody else because they didn't want you thinking that they were doing the mayor any favors, right? We don't want you all believing that we're doing them any favors. So we brought special people in to take care of this, right? So these special people, then we get into court. Let me get the rest of this up here so you can see the transcripts as I see them here. Give me a second, guys. Sorry, I'm not as techie as some of the others are on this stuff. Takes me an extra second to get it going here. I might be able to make this bigger for you to read because it's on a different screen here. All right, so the bailiff, John Kincaid, says, "All rise. Ironton Municipal Court now in session. Honorable Judge Catanzaro presiding." There are voices in the background that can't be made out what is said, according to the person who typed this up. The judge says, "All right, I did not bring the file with me." Well, how damn convenient. I mean, damn. He's a judge. Is he expected to have the file in front of him? I don't know. It seems very improper and not very damn professional to me. But either way, he doesn't have the shit that he needs. Lucky for him, though, the bailiff does. He says, "I have it right here for you, Your Honor, Samuel T. Cramblit II." The judge says, "That's you. Let's first identify ourselves for the record." The defendant states his name, Sam Cramblit. The attorney for the defendant, Jeremy Dodgen, 0068113, on behalf of Sam Cramblit. The special prosecutor pipes up, attorney John Hass, special prosecutor. And then the judge says, "How do you pronounce that last name again?" The defendant, Cramblit, repeats his last name for Judge Catanzaro. Judge Catanzaro says, "Right now I have one case number 22 TRC 1262 A and B. We're here today on a motion to suppress, and you can proceed on the motion to suppress." His attorney Dodgian, pipes up and says, "No, Your Honor, I'll withdraw. We'll withdraw the motion at this time." The judge says, "Okay, are you changing your plea to not guilty on both charges?" The attorney for the mayor says, "We would change our plea to guilty to, I believe it is count 2 or count B of the complaint." The prosecutor says, "And in exchange for that plea on that, Your Honor, the state would move to dismiss the A charge." I think it's very interesting that they keep using A and B rather than under the influence or being fucking drunk behind the wheel of a car. I think it's very interesting that they're doing that. I don't know if they do it in all cases because I haven't sat through too many drunk driving cases, but I think it's very interesting that they won't even say the words. They keep using A and B and shit. So the judge says, "Okay, the court will accept the dismissal subject to the plea. Guilty to the charge of signal violation is what?" The attorney says, "Guilty." The judge says, "Guilty. Is there anything you would like to say on behalf of your client?" And again, I have to switch the page here, so give me just a second. Get that up here for you guys. And again, I'm sorry for my amateur hour here. There we go, I think. Make sure I'm on the right one here. And the attorney for the mayor says, "Your Honor, we are happy to get this resolved in this fashion. I think it is the appropriate remedy or conclusion of this case given the evidence that was provided to everybody through the cruiser, video, and body cameras. I think that it depicted Mr. Cramblit being responsible out on the roads and not being impaired. I think that it was the consensus by both sides, and I think that it is the appropriate resolution to him taking responsibility for the fact not using turn signal." The judge says, "Sure, anything you would like to say?" Defendant Cramblit apparently said something, but they couldn't make out what he said at the time they made this transcript, or at least that's what they typed in there. The judge says something, and apparently that can't be made out either. And then he says, "Your recommendation." And the special prosecutor, John Hass, pipes up and says, "Just a minor misdemeanor, a small fine." And the judge says, "How small?" And the prosecutor says, $25 in the costs. Then the attorney for the defendant says, "We'd be happy to pay whatever the fine is today, Your Honor." And the judge says $25 in costs, and now we will dismiss the A charge. His attorney pipes back up and says, "Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, I've got an ALS disposition form if I may approach." The judge says yes. The attorney thanks him. The judge can't make out what he says at this point either, says thank you. The bailiff says, "Okay, we stand adjourned." The attorney says, "Thank you, Your Honor." And of course the bailiff says, "All rise, court now adjourned." All that horse shit. So basically what you have here, I see this one of two ways. One, we can either clearly see that through the footage that we just watched, which apparently is what the prosecutor and the defense attorney and the judge sat and watched, right? Because this is how they made the determination that this sumbitch was a responsible driver, right? Responsible driver, being responsible on the roadways is what it said. So either we can see that clearly from what we just witnessed,